you're representing here. Both those shows came out really in the same general time. 92 for Batman, wasn't it 93 for Lois and Clark?
So it was.
Were you guys conscious of the other shows? You guys were on prime time, you were getting great ratings, and all the buzz was about it, and you guys were changing the face of animation with Batman the Animated Series.
Animation as opposed to live action, they're different, really different realms. And you're so busy with your own career, booking the job, getting the job, that you're not necessarily aware of every other show that's on at the same time, to be honest.
Well said. I mean, we were just happy to be on the air and didn't know how it was going to go. And it's, you're always hearing, well, we're right in the bubble, and that's kind of where they keep you the whole time. So you're working. For me, it was 18 hours a day. I'd leave my house, I'd be home 18 hours later. You didn't have time to think about that, other than get home, get to sleep, and get ready to go for the next day and just do your job.
In the character. Terry Hatcher is Lois Lane, but did she feel the same responsibility of, she's inheriting the mantle of Lois Lane, not the same way that you handled, there was a costume involved in yours.
Yes. Well, truthfully, she probably took it, the responsibility more seriously. She probably felt the weight more so. But that's just the difference between Terry and myself as people. In that sense, I have a more of a laid-back, attitude towards things. I plan on doing it and doing it well, but she would spend more time thinking about it, I think, than I would. She was such a strong actress. I still think she's the best Lois Lane of all time, and then, so if there's it's kind of a tepid response. I mean, that's good. But I think she is. I think she was amazing, and she was obviously maybe the biggest part of why the show worked so well, because the dynamic between the two characters was so great, and she drove the show.
Technically, though, you both had romantic relationships with Lois Lane, because Dana Delaney's Lois Lane and your Batman in that Batman-Superman crossover, that was unheard of in the 90s.
When it should have been unheard of.
Well, she came to her senses, and she saw a good thing.
That's pretty succinct.
I always play for the cheap laugh. It's terrible.
I always feel like I have to play defense with you. I never know where it's coming. But Dean was mentioning how his main character was Clark and Superman was the disguise. You and I have done these panels before.
I had the exact opposite.
You're the opposite. It was Batman.
I discovered early on that the whole persona of Batman evolved out of the crisis of his childhood, watching his parents murdered in front of him. And that's how I came up. They were describing the character to me because I was really naive to the whole story. I'd only known the Adam West show that so many of us grew up on, which was a real aberration. I mean, everyone loved that show, but it wasn't really the Dark Knight series. And they wanted to go back, Bruce Timm, to create that Dark Knight ethos, that noir, New York, gritty drama. And when they were describing the story to me and the tragedy of his youth, I was in the studio at Warner Brothers, and I just was putting myself in the into the place with my imagination, and this voice started coming out, and it just went to a place where, to me, it was just a dark, broody, pained place. So that was like, oh, that's where Batman comes from. That's Batman. So if that's Batman, that means that Bruce Wayne is the suit that he puts on to face the world. He's the public face. So that was the way I approached the character. So, and it really served me well because the show, Batman the Animated Series became The Adventures of Batman and Robin, and that became Batman Beyond, and that became the Justice League, and then the movies and the games. It just went on and on and on for 27 years. So the reason it served me so well is because it kept the voice grounded in that tragedy of his childhood so that it never becomes stale. And the Bruce Wayne is the performance. So it served me well over time to approach it that way.
Kara's adopted father on Supergirl. So you're quote unquote in the Berlanti-verse. Yeah. And there's a certain rumor that Mr. Conroy is going to be in the upcoming Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover.
That's not a rumor anymore.
what can you tell us about who you're playing, or?
I can't tell you anything because I don't know anything. I just know it's an older version of Bruce Wayne. I haven't seen this. I haven't seen the script. I haven't even seen any sketches or anything, so I don't know. But I am doing it. But I think they're nervous about actors releasing information or
Well, who would you tell?
scripts leaking out. I mean, just between you and me. There is one scene, but don't tell anybody. Yeah, so they don't tell, they won't let us see scripts. So I honestly don't know what it's going to involve.
So what we do know, though, is that Tyler Hoechlin, who played Superman in the Supergirl show, is going to reprise his role, and that Brandon Routh is going to reprise a Superman role and be a Superman. And then the rumors started. Your name has been mentioned. Tom Welling's name has been mentioned. Is there anything that you can say or deny, or can you wink, wink, not deny about anything about your involvement with the Crisis?
Come on, you can do it. Tell
I'm gonna take a...
backstage, he told me.
I'm gonna go with Sergeant Schultz on this one and say, I know nothing. I know nothing. No, I really do know nothing at this point in time. So it's a big question mark.
Okay.
I don't know. Both, Tyler and Brandon are working in the Berlantiverse now, currently, and I have been. My character's been gone for the last couple seasons. We don't know where he is. I don't know where he is. So we'll have to see. But I honestly don't have any news that I could share between us friends right here, who I know nobody would tell. Right?
But to that end, though, those shows have done such a great job of honoring the past. I mean, Terry Hatcher's been on it. You've been on it. Helen Slater's been on it. I mean, just that Supergirl show alone has really paid homage to the history of the character.
I think that's great, especially for the fans, and I'm a fan of the genre, so I think it's really fun when I see Linda Carter come on and play the president, And I think that kind of stuff is really cool, and it's an ode to superheroes that may have come before, or characters, and that Supergirl's mom being the first super. I think that's just really cool stuff, and so I appreciate that. I know Berlanti did that on purpose, and it was smart. Andrew Kreisberg, who was one of the original guys there, is a big time comic book geek, and he knows everything. He knows more about all that world than I ever have. Will know, and it was a concerted effort. I think it was really smart. It's good for the fans, and I was a fan, so it was good for me.
Those shows are phenomenal, and you were great. It's a lot of fun to see all of that stuff, and there's so many musical connections to that. Melissa has been Melissa Benoist has been on Broadway. Jeremy Jordan's on Broadway. Kevin's been on Broadway. There's all kinds of...
I haven't been on Broadway.
In the voice of Batman for many years through the games, movies, shows, all that. How is it to finally be able to play like a live-action version of Bruce Wayne? How does that feel?
Yeah. It's a little, I don't know, it's a little intimidating. I don't know. I mean, I started out in the theater in New York, and then I did on-camera television, and then I sort of stumbled into voice work. Batman was the first animated character I ever auditioned for, and that was in '91.
How'd it go?
I'm still playing it. I still got the gig. I got the gig. But I haven't done anything on camera, anything of any, anything really, since like the late '90s. So it's a little intimidating. I don't know what it's going to be like, to be honest with you. I'll just approach it as I do any other character, as an acting job.
All right, we're all excited for it.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's...
Right, I have two questions, one for Dean, one for Kevin, really quick. Dean, do you feel there's like one particular moment where you feel you put your thumbprint on the Man of Steel throughout the career from beginning to where you are now? And then Kevin, have you heard the rumor about Mark Hamill also playing the live-action Joker?
Well, we'll hold on to that one for a second. You know what? When you're shooting playing a character for 4 years, there's so many moments, so many times where you are doing things. There were so many things that were created in the show, moments I thought were pretty special, and I don't know that it was necessarily my thumbprint that did it. I thought the fact that the Ma and Pa Kent were such a big part of him and his life, and it was really cool to see that mom made him his suit, and that whole bit with trying on the suits and keeping his anonymity and being able to talk to his father, having Jonathan Kent alive was great. But I don't feel like that was necessarily my thumbprint in that sense. Anytime you play a character for 4 years, there's parts of you that are going to come out. And obviously, I was an athlete, and I like doing the athletic things. That was a lot of fun. But if I look at iconic moments for the show, to me, the best part of the show was I still love it. It's my favorite moment is when Clark asks Lois to marry him, and she says, "Who's asking, Clark or Superman?" I just think that moment really is the show, and was so much about what the show was about. In that sense, the whole show put its thumbprint, on the character.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also the time travel stuff with H.G. Wells and the Tempest.
That was
pretty
fun.
intense stuff.
That always confuses me though. Time travel, I'm like, ow. So if he's, okay. Yeah, so those are fun. Those are fun, but I think that it's only fun if you care about the characters and wanting them to be together. And that was the essence of the show.
And the Hamill, I know nothing.
It's a rumor.
It's a Sergeant Schultz moment. I know nothing. As far as I know, no, it's not.
Okay.
I think that's just one of those, if you hear it on the internet, it's probably a lie. It's one of those things.
All right, thank you both.
Sure. Actors are people. There are kind ones, there are selfish ones, there are generous ones, there are mean ones. There are ones you want to work with, and there are ones you want to run away from. You know what I mean? There's people. Mark is one of those giving, generous, 100% on your side actors. There's a certain amount of jealousy or competitiveness among most actors. There's not an ounce of it with Mark. He loves watching other actors work, genuinely. This is Mark in a recording studio. I'm not exaggerating. I saw him do this, watching another actor perform. He looked like a 5-year-old looking at a candy window. I looked over him and I burst out laughing so hard they had to stop the recording. They said, "Kevin, you ruined the take." And I said, "Look at Mark's face. How could you not ruin the take?" He's just so generous and so he gives and gives and gives. So acting is about reacting. Acting should be renamed reacting, because it's what you do with what you get, and you give it back. And then they give it to you. It's like playing ball. So when someone's giving you so much, it's like in life. If someone's giving you so much love, it's so easy to give it back to them. It's like a relationship. So that's what acting is. It's a relationship. And Mark and I love his acting, I believe, as much as he loves mine. And he has said, I define his Joker, and I have said he defines my Batman. I think we're kind of the yin and the yang of each other. Yeah. We really are. His darkness, our darkness and light define each other. So it's just been an amazing experience that we found each other. And that's Andrea Romano, who's a great casting woman. Think about it. She did Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, Batman, Superman. I mean, so many of the iconic shows have been...
My childhood.
Yeah, and it's been the same casting woman. And she just matches up the right actors with the right characters. So that's I can't say enough about working with Mark. I love working with Mark.
Thank you.
Sure.
I got time for about 2 more, so let's go over here.
Great to see you guys. I was so excited when I heard both of you were going to be here.
Thank you.
So to Dean, as a Mug Club member, it's good to see you up here. Nice to see you. But then Kevin, my question is for you. Other than Mark Hamill, because we just kind of already covered him, out of all the people you acted with and all your voice work with Batman, whether it's any of the shows, the video games, who's your favorite actor/character combo that you really enjoyed working with?
That'd be like asking you who's your favorite child.
Yes, who's your favorite child?
We've all got a favorite
Well, you can't say who your favorite child. No.
Even though you know, right?
Even though.
I only have one.
No, that sort of references back to what I was saying about Andrea, the casting. Think about the cast of the shows. On the 100th episode of Batman the Animated Series, Warner Brothers took out a centerfold of Variety. Variety is the trade publication for the Hollywood industry. And they just thanked everyone who'd been involved in the show. And to see all those names spread across 2 pages was unbelievable. I mean, Ron Perlman, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., Roddy McDowell, Paul Williams. I mean, Mark Hamill, it just went on and on and on. Richard Mull, there have been, Michael and Sarah. There have been so many great actors. Yeah, it was Mr. Freeze. What a great Mr. Freeze. So, you can't really pick one because they were all great. You know what I mean?
Okay, then I guess as a follow-up to that, would it be, is there a moment with another actor, like in an episode or a part of the game, that you really stuck out to you as pretty iconic?
Well, yeah, I mean...
Who is sort of your favorite kid?
Not your favorite, but you like the best one, you know?
The end of, the end of The Killing Joke, playing that was, with Mark, was so, there's just such a cathartic growth that goes, it's this laugh and this laugh and this laugh, and it's like Batman takes in the Joker, and the laughs become the same. It's like, and it grows and grows and grows and grows until it's just Batman's laugh, but you don't know if it's the Joker or Batman. And that was all me doing that. So any actor who gets to do that, you know, it's just so much fun. And a similar thing happened at the end of Arkham Knight, where he takes in the Joker. So there have been so many. It's been such a gift.
I'm hoping I can make it a good last question.
Don't feel any pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
Tick tock.
Oh, I love it. Anyways, so a question for both of you, because I want you to both have one. Ken, so you stated before that the story of Batman and Superman are used to tell younger people the difference between right and wrong, though the more mature comics that are coming out now for adults kind of play with some more dangerous themes.
Yeah.
And I'm curious as to whether or not, and this is kind of an under the red hood question, do you think that Batman would have been better off killing the Joker, perhaps, or killing some of his other villains? And question for Dean, I just want to know what you think of Henry Cavill.
Henry's great. Henry Cavill's a great guy, great actor, a really super nice guy, and I don't mean no pun there. But his version, the version of Zack Snyder's world of Superman is a very, very dark incarnation, and the Superman's biggest weakness is his goodness, and it kind of didn't exist. There was a lot of angst and things like that going on. It was really kind of Batman's world that his character of Superman was inhabiting. So it wasn't my favorite incarnation, and it's not due to Henry. It's just due to my preference for Superman being a character of hope and light, and the idea, when they're fighting and he's throwing the guy they're going through buildings. All I was thinking was, how many people are dying in those buildings, and Superman would give his life for any one of them. So it was a weird thing for me, and then of course Batman vs Superman. My son watched it with me. When it was over, he was so angry. I was like, "Did you like it?" He's like, "No, it's terrible. Superman died." I'm like, "That's my boy." Come on, buddy. But I think Henry did a great job. It's just a different incarnation for sure, and honestly, not my favorite incarnation. My favorite still is Christopher Reeve.
I was at Juilliard with Christopher. Wow. And I was 17. I left high school early to go into Juilliard, and he came in after a few years of college. So he came in as a third-year student, and I was just this stumbling idiot. And he was so kind. He was so genuinely kind. He was a good guy. He never made me feel like the stumbling idiot that I was. He was just a very, very generous guy. And he remained that way throughout his career. After he took off and he was doing Superman, he would, still come back to New York and campaign to have theaters not be torn down. He would be standing in front of the bulldozers, don't tear this theater down. He was a decent good guy. He was a good guy. Anyway,